Welcome to the video on hyperbolic functions. Here are definitions of hyperbolic functions to know. The definitions circled or squared out smaller here are the more important ones to know. So that's hyperbolic sine, also known as sinh. Sinh x is equal to e to the x minus e to the negative x divided by 2. Hyperbolic cosine, that is cos x, is equal to e to the x plus e to the negative x divided by 2. And the rest of these can be derived just by knowing the definitions of sinh and cos. We also have these hyperbolic identities that are really similar to what you've seen in trig. In our first example, we're going to prove this hyperbolic identity. Example 1, proving a hyperbolic identity. Let's use the definition of cos x and sinh x to prove cos squared x minus sinh squared x equals 1. Now we're starting with the left-hand side here. And cos is equal to e to the x plus e to the negative x divided by 2, and we're squaring this whole quantity. Then subtracting sinh, which is e to the x minus e to the negative x divided by 2, and we're squaring that. So using some algebra, we end up with e to the 2x plus 2e to the x, e to the negative x, plus e to the negative 2x over 4, and that's just from squaring cos. Now when we square sinh, we'll end up with something similar, e to the 2x minus 2e to the x, e to the negative x, plus e to the negative 2x divided by 4. Now we can combine like terms here, and the denominator is the same, so I'm just going to have a 4 here, and have e to the 2x minus e to the 2x, so that's e to the 2x minus e to the 2x. And then recall, e to the x times e to the negative x, that's just going to give us 1, since these parts here gives us e to the 0 power, which is equal to 1. Okay, so that is 2 minus a negative 2. So 2 minus a negative 2. And then finally, we have e to the negative 2x minus e to the negative 2x. So, of course, this first part here is 0, and the second part here is also 0. So we end up with 2 plus 2, which is 4 over 4, which equals 1. And we're done. Now here are some derivatives of hyperbolic functions. Please memorize these derivatives of hyperbolic functions. Example 1, let's differentiate the following functions. So first, let's start with this one. I'm going to call this a. So for a, y prime is equal to 2 times x to the 5th prime cos x plus 2x to the 5th times cos x prime. So I end up with 10x to the 4th times cos x plus 2x to the 5th times sinh x. Next, let's call this one b, and let's rewrite it as cos x to the 1/2 power. So for b, we end up with y prime equals 1/2 times cos x. Here I have 1/2 minus 1. That is just applying the power rule, where we move the exponent down and then subtract by 1 here. And then we're going to apply the chain rule since we have a function within a function, so we have to multiply by the derivative of cos x to end up with 1/2 times cos x to the negative 1/2 power times sinh x, which is sinh x divided by 2 times the square root of cos x.